Okay, welcome back. We are delighted to be joined by Kim Crawley. So, hi, Kim.
Hi, it's great to be here, everyone.
It's
Wow,
great to have you.
you're a whole pile of cheerful this morning.
I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I chug down a couple of cans of energy drinks.
Wow, okay.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. So just off air there, we were talking in our green room because the Many Hats Club does look after us. We were talking about how Joe, the previous guest, really had a huge impact on you, Kim, and you said that you'd be glad to sing his praises a little bit. So tell
Oh
us a little
yeah,
bit about that.
I really enjoyed listening to Joe, and he is very much responsible for the career success that I have now.
Wow.
Because back in 2016, he decided to publish my Women in Information Security interview series.
Okay.
And that got me a lot of attention, and it led to gigs with Silence and AT&T and Benify and so on. And I'm always going to be grateful for him because he's the one who gave me a chance.
That's a great and an amazing and touching story. And I think one of the things that you just said, which I guess some people might find a little bit shocking, is there were women in information security in 2016. Um, Apparently,
No, no.
yeah. I thought this was just a new thing. So, Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit about your perspective of this industry and kind of how it's evolved for good or for bad?
Okay. I think our industry in general has been improving.
Good to
And
hear.
I'm very happy to see, a good gender mix of guests on BeerCon. So
Oh,
that's
thank you.
very, yeah. So that things are looking up. I'm seeing more people of color also in the industry and transgender people and whatnot. So I'm really optimistic because that diversity benefits the industry. We need all kinds of different perspectives. Cybersecurity is largely a humanities domain. So we need all of those different perspectives.
I agree wholeheartedly. And it's interesting because you're a very strong advocate for a fairly large group of folks that suffer from mental disorder, and you've been an outspoken advocate about that. So why don't you tell us your story a little bit about how you went from suffering to now being an advocate and a very strong voice in the community.
Ian, I know you. I know you're a great guy. I know that your heart is in the right place. In our community, we don't really like using the word suffering.
Okay.
Yeah. I know your heart's in the right place and your good intentions. So I just thought I'd let you know about that.
Okay.
Um, I ever since I was really, really little, I knew that there was something different about my brain.
Gotcha.
And it made my life very difficult. My my older sister Victoria suspected that I was autistic when I was 2, and her mother, because she's actually my half sister, her mother was a special education teacher, and she vouched for that idea that I was autistic. But my dad would not hear about it. I'm hyperlexic, which means that I was speaking in full sentences and sophisticated language early in life. And my dad just wanted to believe that I was a super brilliant little girl. He did not want to believe that his daughter could be mentally disabled. So there were a lot of times in my life where I almost got diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome or autism or ADHD, and I missed because of ableism and ignorance. And then eventually, at age 35, I started making enough money that I could pay for my own private psychology services. So that's what I did about a year ago. And I finally got a formal diagnosis. And I was surprised that it was both autism and ADHD. So I
And
got both diagnoses at the same time.
and somehow through that incredibly challenging journey, you ended up being one of, I would say, one of the top InfoSec journalists, widely read, especially on the Silence blog, globally. So
Yeah,
that's a
well,
huge, huge accomplishment.
thank you very much. I'm very busy. Like I work for a lot of different vendors, as you all know.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm really blessed. Like my career is so great. I love my job so much. It gives me a feeling of purpose. I love learning about cybersecurity every day, just a little bit more. My job is basically, it's like being a university student, but you're paid to be a university student. You're paid to learn, you're paid to study, you're paid for your essays. Whereas, you know, a lot of people, they go to university or college and they don't get paid for it. It has the like the reverse effect, right? They go into deep debt. So so I'm really happy to be a paid student, and I'm always eager to learn every day.
Well, you figured out how to hack the system. So
Exactly.
It's all good. Kim, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
So obviously you observe, and that's you spend a lot of time observing the things, the goings on in the industry, and then you write and you express, you know, your interpretations of the things that are happening in the world. Have you got any examples of where you've found a story really difficult to write, or whether it's been a real shakes my head moment in the information that you've been sharing with people?
Oh yeah. When I find my job challenging, it's not psychological. It's purely I'm reading highly technical documentation.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about technologies that haven't existed for very long. And I've got to focus on what I'm reading, but at the same time, if my brain starts feeling like it's going to hurt, take a break and then come back to the research material later on.
Sure.
So it's never psychological, it's more mental. I think the most difficult thing that I wrote recently was that DNS over HTTPS thing that I wrote for Venafi's blog.
Right.
Because that is a very new technology, and a lot of people were very eager to read about it because there's not a lot of information about it online yet.
Yeah.
And because there's not a lot of information about it online yet, the web was not sufficient research. I would Google terms relevant to the topic to see what information I could find. And I found a lot of the search results that were coming back were things that I wrote.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
So it's like shit, I can't reference myself. I can't do that.
There's a certain level of arrogance when you reference yourself.
So I you know, you guys on Twitter, like the InfoSec community, were very, very useful to me. We had some DMs where I asked questions about very specific questions about the implementation of TLS certificates.
Mm-hmm.
And I got good answers. And that was how I was able to write that piece based on good information. I mean, it's great. I have a lot of the world's top experts in various different facets of cybersecurity on my metaphorical Rolodex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love having that as a resource and learning from all those specialists, because I will never be a specialist. For the sake of my job, I always must be a generalist.
Sure.
So if I have a specific question about IoT security, for instance, I can go to Stu Peck, right? If I have a specific question about network security, I can go to you, Ian, et cetera,
Oh God,
et cetera.
I'm a bad idea. I write emails. No, but thank you for that. And it's so kind of you to say that. And yes, as a community, I think we love to support people that have the desire to learn. Do you think though that, you know, sort of what's Kim 3.0? Are you thinking about a book? Are you thinking about, you know, more community activism? Where's your comfort level these days?
I think on one level, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing right now until the day I die.
Okay.
Because
Please don't die.
I like the consistency, and I really like my job. Without getting into too many details, I'm being considered for other positions of more authority right now.
Nice.
And I'm also going to work on my own sort of creative online media project in
Great.
2020. I don't want to go into too many details about that right now. I want a lot of that to be a surprise. But
Well,
I am
You can
working
always
on.
share with the beer farmers under embargo. But
But I
fantastic.
am working on some fun content that doesn't have anything to do with any of my work for vendors.
You know, and this is a really great sort of segue into my next question is downtime is really important. You talked about resting your brain. Do you see, I think a hyperness or a craziness of this industry just driving people, you know, harder? Are we losing our humanity in this industry? You know, from your perspective?
You will never hear a more enthusiastic advocate for work-life balance than me.
Okay.
I've had editors approach me and they see how many different vendors I'm working with simultaneously. And they say, wow, you must be working 100 hours a week then. You work for like 5 different companies right now. And
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I don't work 100 hours a week. You'd be surprised. I actually very rarely work more than 30 hours a week. But the fact that, you know, a lot of weeks I only work 20 hours.
Right.
Because the work that I do for one vendor might only take me 4 hours in a week.
Right.
The fact that I have so much time for rest and relaxation is not reflective of me being so much smarter than other people. It's reflective of me being a lot luckier than other people. If you're a corporate drone, you cannot plan your own schedule. You can't say to your boss, oh, I only want to work 10 hours a week. They're going to say, no, you have to come into the office for these hours, and that's final, right? It's a privilege that I have, being well compensated by the companies I work for and being self-employed. But if you can live like me and have time off and have rest and relaxation and have a life outside of your job, then you should do it. I really don't like Calvinism, and I
Right.
really don't like people saying that, you know, working 80 hours a week, working 100 hours a week is honorable. It's not. You will kill yourself doing that. My job is great. I love my job, but I also love sleeping, and I love, you know, watching Netflix and playing video games and spending time with my sexy rock star boyfriend, you know?
Indeed.
No job is worth doing 100 hours a week.
Some wise advice, and you might be one of the few that in InfoSec that has come on and publicly stated that they love their job. So,
It's probably because I do only work 20 to 30 hours a week.
yeah, and that's tremendous. So Canada, you're Canadian.
Yeah.
How do you see Canadian information security versus the global stage? Because you tap into the to global companies, you tap into global resources. How's Canada doing?
I am
How are my
really
people?
optimistic. I mean, one of the companies that I work for is BlackBerry. I've worked for BlackBerry ever since they acquired Silence. And we all know that their headquarters is in Waterloo.
Hmm.
And thanks to the University of Waterloo, and thanks to BlackBerry being based in Waterloo, we have a very promising tech sector right here in Southern Ontario.
Yeah.
I live in the heart of Toronto.
Hmm.
And for those who are completely ignorant of the geography here, Waterloo is about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from here.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that there are a lot of smart people who are retiring from BlackBerry and they're forming their own little small tech companies. And there are, you know, BlackBerry has invested a lot in the University of Waterloo. So there are people coming out of those educational programs starting their own businesses. So I'm very optimistic about Canada. We're in a great position here.
Yeah, certainly. Aviac Networks is a great example of a tech company that dates back to the BlackBerry Nortel network days. So that's
Oh, it's
good.
horrible what happened to Nortel.
The
I've known
hackings,
people who worked for Nortel in the 80s and they're so angry and they're so sad.
yeah. Oh, it's a heck of a story that is slowly unfolding as we peer deeper into Huawei and global espionage. What are
I
some of the
grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, when I was a little kid, and the Mississauga skyline had a big glass office tower on Robert Speck Parkway, and it had the Nortel logo on top of it. And I
yeah.
remember seeing it all throughout my early childhood and when I was a grade school kid. That was a prominent part of Mississauga's skyline. So it is kind of personal to me.
So let me ask you sort of the question about balancing sort of journalistic integrity versus writing for vendor blogs. How do you balance sort of the need to obviously create a bit of a commercial product that feeds the company leads and stuff like that, but at the same time sort of maintain a journalistic approach to what you're doing? Do you ever find
I,
yourself sort of at odds?
I know for certain that I work under marketing departments. I also do consider myself a journalist because I do engage in the act of journalism. It is kind of a tightrope, you
Hmm.
know. All of the information on those vendor blogs is good, but I mean, none of us are naive here. Like, there's never going to be information on a vendor's blog that's unflattering to the vendor.
Yeah, of course.
And
But yeah,
I've seen great ideas for stories, like certain strains of malware that were discovered or whatever, and pitched it to editors. And the editors had to remind me of, oh, that research is coming from a competing company. I'm sorry, you can't write
right.
about that here.
But yet
So
somehow you leverage your relationships to get this amazing coverage for Cyber Titan from Silence, which blew my mind, Kim, that you were able
I have a
to.
great relationship with Anthony and Natasha
Yeah,
at Silence. And Anthony, I believe, has recently been promoted to the head of online content for all of BlackBerry.
terrific.
And I consider those people to be my friends, just like I consider Joe to be my friend. And I
Yeah,
know that Joe and Anthony are also friends.
and the beer farmers are
So,
definitely your friends.
you guys, I consider you guys friends too. And Ian, you've been absolutely great to me.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Fellow
so
Canadians, looking out for
yeah,
one
it
another.
is very much about who you know and not about what you know.
Yeah,
But once your foot is in the door, in this industry, everyone knows each other.
that's so true.
So don't be a dick.
Don't be a
Don't be a
dick.
dick.
That's our motto, isn't it, Ian? I think it's fair
Yeah,
to
I
say.
think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. We've got a couple of minutes left, Kim. It's been fascinating listening to you. Ian kind of alluded to earlier in a question, but what's 2020 going to look like for you in your life? And that can be obviously your work
I
life, your
moved
other
to
life.
I moved to a nice new apartment. This building is very new. Like, it finished construction like about a month before I moved in.
Cool.
Um, because I moved to this new apartment, I now have a space that's conducive for YouTube.
Gotcha.
Because now I have privacy and I have a nice looking place. I have a place that now looks nice on camera and I have privacy and I don't have to worry about some roommate interrupting me. I live here completely alone.
Lovely.
So if I'm going to go into new media projects in 2020, the apartment is a part of that, quite honestly, because that's
great.
where most YouTubers work. They work out of their own homes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
yeah. So I think I'm gonna, I've kept on working for Silence and AT&T Cybersecurity and Venafi, and I started working for Kaspersky Secure Future. I started working for them last autumn. I want to see those business relationships continue all throughout 2020 and 2021. So I think 2020 is going to be much the same, plus some new projects, but there's not going to be anything good in 2019 that there wasn't in 2020.
Fair
There's gonna
enough.
be more
Yeah.
extra stuff.
Yeah,
Or exciting to see the output, definitely.
absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to going to Cyber Titan in May.
Yeah, it's coming on strong.
I really enjoyed going last year. That was great. So I'm definitely looking forward to that in May. I mean, the kids are so brilliant. And you work so hard, Ian. Like my job is easy. My job is just to like make observations.
It's not much harder than BeerCon, to be honest. Same hours. Same hours.
So I know that Anthony will greenlight covering Cyber Titan next year.
That's so exciting. We're so grateful to Anthony and the team at Silence, and of course Kim, the creator of the content that really drives the eyeballs to the important issues. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank
It's been
you,
our
guys.
pleasure.
It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. Brilliant.